how do you know when you've been playing it too small? And when your defense mechanisms kick in, you're playing it too small. You know that there's a bigger field of unconditional love, or at least self-respect, which is a form of unconditional love. There's a bigger field of that you can be playing in. But if you're succumbing to those defense mechanisms, then you're playing it too small. And that's probably the first signal that you should recognize. And if you can start to wake up to understand what are your defense mechanisms, then that is a huge step. Because remember, we are infinite divine souls having human experiences. And the more you let go of your human worldview and your human paradigm, and the deeper you go into the cosmic consciousness of you, that unconditional love of your divine soul knowing, and there's no limit to that. There's always going to be something that you can let go of that no longer serves you for your highest good in your human worldview and your human paradigm. So a defense mechanism is any habitual response that you do without even thinking that keeps you into familiar territory. So even if you can intellectually know that it's counterproductive, whether it's uh, comfort foods, knee-jerk reactions, playing the victim, playing the aggressor, um, uh, deviating your thoughts, all of these are joking instead of being honest and transparent and authentic, cracking a joke, that deviates the tension. Anything that keeps you into your known comfort zone, and you do that habitually, or you do that by conditioning, that's a defense mechanism. And so when you recognize that there's an impulse in you that wants to go further, that wants to play, or even you intellectually have made the choice that you want to play in a new realm, you want to play in your business world differently, you want to play in your relationships differently, you want to play with more clarity of focus or emotional freedom or the courage to act on these new illuminations that have come to you, but you trip yourself up, that's a defense mechanism. Is when you're fighting to move out, but you're yanking yourself back. Another way to know that you're playing it too small when you think about relationships is it's so easy to fall into the thought pattern that the other person. You can predict their behavior. So there's no sense in even having a conversation with them. You could predict their behavior. Well, people are predictable if you're predictable to them, because two people together, they create their own rhythm and flow. That's why, like in an example, in a romantic relationship at the beginning, it's so juicy because it's so unpredictable and whoa. And then, of course, there's a lot of projections that the other person won't see my warts and boogers that I've been hiding from the world. And if they do see them, they'll love me anyway. That's human love, but there's all the possibilities within that. And we've talked about that in other conversations. Now you have love, you're together. Okay. Maybe there's not the juices of the unknown, and then you get comfortable with each other. And this happens especially in familial situations or business situations where you've worked together for a long time. And you think you know the person. The thing is that chances are, and this is worth taking a look at, because you're playing it too small if you think that about the other person. Because as much as you about yourself that other person does not know, you can be guaranteed that they've got probably about the same amount hidden from you, maybe waiting for you to give them permission to share. Or maybe you're waiting for yourself to give yourself permission to share. Who knows? But there's permission to share that's not being given in that dynamic. And so that's know that when you think that's going on, you're playing it too small. And this is a prime opportunity to learn how to love unconditionally and to learn how to let go of what you think you know and really start to discover on deeper levels what unconditional love is all about and how far and deep it can take you. But again, it takes courage. You poo poo an idea before you even have taken the time to consider it because you're in a trance state. Now, we see this going on in politics where the Dems hate the Republicans hate the Democrats. I'm speaking on the American thing. I could talk about it in Italy where, they think this and they think that, and oh, they're from that town and they're from that, the tribalism effect. Okay. So again, it's that conditioned human response to stay in the known world because way back in the caveman days, if you went into unknown territory, they might be a big old huge animal ready to eat you. But we don't have animals around anymore. And if another human being wants to eat you, and I'm not talking cannibalism of your body, but they want to eat your light, then you just, hey, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Your mother taught that to you when you're young. Remind yourself of it. And while that's happening, you just drop in your light. You drop into your light. You drop into the unconditional love of you and let go of that fear of being unlovable. Because that fear of being unlovable is what, or not being respected or admired or whatever your measurement of love is what keeps us in the safe zones. And if we can let go of that need and really start to feel into ourselves and to understand that we are created by unconditional love, with unconditional love, and we are designed in our very DNA to commune with the creator or the all or whatever you want to call it. This is how we are designed. And so anything short of that is something that we have worked to create. And so that's the other thing to remember is that you can easily dissolve the divide between you and the other person that you think you already know so well, there's nothing left to learn. But letting go of the divide that you've created between yourself and yourself. And then open up the flow between you and that other person. Takes courage. But boy, oh boy, the emotional freedom and the love on the other side is something that you can't begin to imagine. You are one way online than you are with the people in person. Maybe you're nicer and you're more expansive online and you're not in person. Or maybe you're an extrovert in person and you're an introvert online. Or maybe you're an extrovert online and you're an introvert in person. You're playing it too small somewhere. You're playing it too small. Also take a look at how you are with somebody that you don't know compared to somebody that you do know. I remember once when I was very, very young, I was in junior high school, and I happened to make the comment to my mother and grandmother. I said, I really wish that, and I came from a happy family that we laughed together and all of that, but it's human in that there were power games. There were, four kids, three sisters, all 1 year apart, all fighting for attention, so that in and of itself is going to have a dynamic. And all of us, of course, by that had learned to look at the outside world to mirror back our self-worth. And so that in itself creates a dynamic. So this is no slam on my family by any stretch of the imagination. I appreciate them, and I appreciate all the things that I've learned from them, whether directly or inadvertently, but I appreciate them. But I remember I happened to say to my mother, I really wish my one of my sisters had kind of done a dirty on me. And I said, I really wish that we would treat our family members with as much kindness and respect as we do strangers. And my mother was, oh, no, why on earth would you say that? And because of course, this touched my mother's parenting skills. And that wasn't what I was intending, but this is how she heard it. But my grandmother, who was untouched by it, was more the observer. She said, that is so true. That is so true. We need to start doing that more. And so obviously that stuck with me all these years. I think it was maybe 14 at the time, because that's very much fed into, I saw how oftentimes we will give a social face to strangers. And then after a period of time, that social face will break down. And especially under stress, that social face will break down. I saw that when I was working as a cruise director on luxury cruise lines. Now, these are people that had the means to travel the world. They had really no money worries. I mean, in theory, on paper, they had everything going for them. In theory, on paper, by traditional material 3D world measurements. Okay. If it were a 7-day cruise, it was great. Things wouldn't start breaking down until about the third or fourth day. We had 3 days. That was good. Okay. If it was a 3-week cruise, things would start breaking down around day 10. If it was a 3-month cruise, things would break down right away as people were worried about being comfortable for 3 months. After about 3 days, everything would settle down and everything would be lovely. And then somewhere just beyond the halfway mark, things would start breaking down. Because that's how long social phases can last. So you're playing it small when you're one person in one environment and another person in another, because you're trying on the social phase, but it's not coming from your center to circumference. Now, don't browbeat yourself for it by any stretch of the imagination, because this is how we learn about who we are. We try on different personas, and we try it out, and it gives us the reason to express ourselves in a certain way. But just know that that's what you're doing. You're shopping personas. Please don't take it as who you really are. And then if you find yourself doing something that you really like to do, it feels natural to do, then try to take a look at that and do it in other environments, because this is a part of yourself that you're really wanting to express. And so if you don't do that, you're probably playing yourself a little too small. Is when you think you know everything, because then you're busted. You might know everything about your past experiences, but if you just take a moment to step back and take a look at this vast world that you're living here, even in the 3D realm, I'm not even talking cosmic consciousness. I'm just talking about the material earth experience and all of the different cultures and all of the different disciplines and all of the different things that there are to discover. You're playing it small. Now, if that's the way you want to play it, and you prefer to be a really big fish in your teeny small pond, okay. But really think long and hard about that, because if you were on your deathbed looking back, can you say to yourself, I did everything that I wanted to do? Do you have any little hidden dream there? Or do you have any little hidden desire? Any little thing that you've tucked away in the back closet of your mind and your heart and your soul that you wanted to do? Because if it's there, you're playing it too small. You focus on the material world, when you feel your inner soul or something in your heart calling you to a different realm. And some people will try to, will try to drug it away in some way, shape, or form. That's the first thing that we talked about with the defense mechanisms, or, you know, food or alcohol or drugs, or working too hard, or uh, looking for love in all the wrong places. When when you feel the call, even if it's something that you're an introvert and um, you want to engage with other people, you're tired of sitting in the corner, but you want to honor your process. But instead of honoring your process, instead of really getting outside your comfort zone, you fall back on the having a drink, or you fall back on having overeating, or the ice cream, or you fall back on the defense mechanisms that we talked about in the first. You're playing it too small. Love yourself enough to play it bigger. Or for example, I'll speak into it in my world of how I know that I was playing it too small, because I felt the call to really take something into meditation. I was looking forward to taking it into meditation. I sailed through getting stuff done, so I had extra time to take this into meditation. This is something that I wanted in my bones. And so I do the basic activation of divine light vibrations meditation. The Merkaba field is totally activated. I'm totally in the zone. I say, okay, now I release anything that is getting in the way of me understanding transformation into illumination. Now I am ready to know, relaxed into it. And then what do I do? It's like, oh, wait. Before I do that, let me just double check to make sure so-and-so is okay. Okay, good. They're okay, good. Okay, now I'm relaxed into it. Oh, wait. Let me just double check. And I had to do 3 or 4 double check things. And these were just deviations. These are teeny little defense mechanisms where I was still playing it small. And that was the choice point. We've talked about that before, is take your look, let, love choice points. You just stop, you take a look at it and go, yeah, wait, yeah, that's what I want to know. I'm ready to discover this. It's new. Then I could let it go 100%, because I hadn't 100% made that choice. So I would say, just to wrap this up and bring it concrete, those are the ways that you're playing too small. And if I were to look at one theme throughout them all, is to remember, and your divine soul's guiding you, your instincts are guiding you, you know what to do if you take the time to really let go and listen, is try to recognize where you're holding yourself back because you feel the pull to do something more, or the desire, even if it's an intellectual desire to do more, that's okay. And look at why you're not doing it. Those are your defense mechanisms. And once you recognize the defense mechanisms, and we've talked about this in other videos, you take it into meditation, you release them after the basic activation of divine light vibrations meditation. You release it. You can even ask, where did I learn that, if you want to go back and send light back to your younger self that learned that defense mechanism, and just really embrace yourself with love. And this is very similar to a lot of the inner child work that's been on the public platform for 35 years. So this isn't a brand new concept, but you send love to that. You give love to the defense mechanism, saying, thank you so much. You have kept me safe in a known zone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tons of gratitude. I can take it from here, because I want to discover this, and I want to discover how to express myself in this direction. And you can be guaranteed that when you want to learn how to discover yourself in a new direction, or discover a new idea, that's your divine soul wanting to express it yourself, more center to circumference, so that your human experience becomes a richer one. You're contributing more to the ascension vibration of yourself and the world around you. Remember, we are all connected with quantum entanglement. And so your actions, your thoughts, and your very vibration ripples out into the world in ways that you'll never know, also in ways that you can see and know. And then put it into concrete action. And then pay attention when you're doing the new actions. See if other little defense mechanisms kick in. Have fun, start getting jazzed about the trial and error.
Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for being interested in learning on how to live your light more fully and freely with emotional freedoms that you haven't even yet begun to dream of. And that gives you the courage and clarity to live your divine soul purpose. Now, just so that I play well with the algorithms here on YouTube, be sure to like the video. Please leave me a comment, because I do love more two-way conversations, and subscribe if you want to stay in touch with any of the new material that I'm putting out there.